I am Devin. I'm a developer advocate here at EdgeDB, and this is Office Hours. This is where you can come to ask your burning questions about EdgeDB. Feel free to get your questions into the chat or raise your hands if you'd like to come up on the stage to voice your question. Also, while we're doing some housekeeping here, I would like to invite a new team member up onto the stage for an introduction. Welcome, Alexandra.
Oh, hello. Hi, and thank you for having me on the stage. So hi everyone. I joined EdgeDB like less than 2 weeks ago as a developer experience engineer. And yeah, I'm super excited. Like the team is lovely. I followed the product for a long time. And yes, I used to be a lead.js maintainer. And yeah, so like a few words about me. I'm from Poland. I have a huge background in the developer tooling world. I spent some time in the GraphQL ecosystem working on frameworks, and I also worked at Hasura. So and I did some open source as well. So yeah, I'm here to help you build products with EdgeDB. So I would love for you to like reach out to me to talk about how you build with EdgeDB, what you're building with EdgeDB. Maybe I'll be able to help you, I know, showcase or promote your EdgeDB projects. And maybe if you want to collaborate on some kind of content, we can we can chat about it, and I can provide any support, and we can collaborate. And yeah, and last thing, if you have any product feedback, something you would like to see being improved in EdgeDB, any aspects of the product, then also let me know. I'm here to chat about it. So feel free to DM me on Discord, on Twitter. I will also leave my Twitter handle here in case you want to reach out. And yes, over to you, Devin. Thank you for having me here.
Sure.
This office
sure.
hours.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We're glad to have you on the team. Excited to see what sort of stuff that we can do together. Another thing to note is Alexandra last week did a stream with the maintainer of
Yes.
Nuxt, featuring a package that integrates EdgeDB and Nuxt. If you can, paste a link to that in the chat so that people can
Yes.
watch it, because that was really cool.
I'm looking for it. It's gonna be a really long thing to watch. It took us 4 hours, but
well, now that it's
yeah.
Now that it's a VOD, you can skip around if you want to.
Yes, but also like while I'm here, I can also announce that there will be a follow-up stream in 3 weeks from now. I think it's on 7th of March. We scheduled it for my birthday, and
Happy birthday.
We're going to continue building the same app. So yeah, we'll also post some announcements before that.
Very cool. Live stream coding, probably not the most traditional birthday celebration, but hope it goes well. Yeah, and there's a blog post about this package as well on our blog if you want to check that out. Those two things are good companions for one another. Alexandra, feel free to stay on the stage if you want to stay with us, or feel free to just hang out in the chat, whatever makes you comfortable. And Alyaj, do you want to give a quick introduction too?
Yeah, sure. I'm jumping around, finding the answers to a few questions here. Yeah, so hello, I'm Alyash. I'm a compiler developer here at EdgeDB. And today I'm here to answer the technical questions that even I don't know and have to search through the code base for.
Fair enough. We
Yeah.
appreciate you joining us. All right, let's start with some questions. I've got how do you rename the EdgeDB local database?
Yeah,
That one
so I poked around, and I think that currently there is no way to do that. But we are releasing database or branches. We are renaming the internal databases within EdgeDB instances to branches, and you'll be able to rename branches.
Yeah. I think if you want to do that now, the best thing you can do is dump your database, create a new one, and restore to the new one, and then delete your old one. So it's a little bit cumbersome, but if you need the database to just have a different name, I think that's kind of the way to do it now.
I've tried to issue rename database on my local checkout of the EdgeDB, and it actually worked because we already had branches implemented.
So, oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
All right. Also, is it possible to move production EdgeDB Cloud from US to EU? This is another announcement that I have neglected to make. We have the EU region of EdgeDB Cloud now available. So if you need your infrastructure in that region, you can now do that on EdgeDB Cloud. And I think in the blog post there's a brief guide about how to move that from one to the other.
Yes, I quickly asked to our cloud team, and they said that it's currently not possible to automatically migrate from one region to another, but this is soon on the roadmap coming. But for now, it's a dump restore process here.
Yeah. There are 3 steps on that blog post on the EdgeDB blog. Actually, let me grab the URL for you. Yeah, so that should help in the interim until we have a sort of slick procedure to move those across. All right.
Also saw you updated the bundled Postgres. Yes, that's true. We're now on Postgres 16, and we're also moving to Python 12. Which should mean that you get a significant performance improvement. I think it's about 10% in the official Python benchmarks. But I don't know how that translates to our compiler and our server. It might be less because we are already doing some optimizations ourselves. But yeah,
cool.
That took a bit of work to get working, the Python 12.
Oh yeah, might see some performance improvements there.
Yeah.
Got 3 projects running with EdgeDB. We love Learn Anything. I've seen that one and looked at it. It's really awesome. A personal EdgeDB instance and Cuscus. What is Cuscus? I'm taking a look at this. Ask questions on Discord if interested. Oh, okay. A food drink sharing app. Very cool. Would you like to come up and talk about it? Any interest in sharing a little bit? It's okay if you don't want to. Okay, yeah, let's. Welcome back.
Yeah, hey.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hello.
So there's not much. Yeah, hi. So there's not much to like share right now, and like I can't show you anything visually. Like we have like the React Native app working, and like we're using a template that actually uses Supabase, but I'm stripping away Supabase with EdgeDB. For kind of obvious reasons. But like actually the Couscous app, like what it is like a food drink sharing app. So like if you go to a restaurant, you take your phone, you can photograph the food, and then you can kind of it creates like essentially like an entry in the system, and then we can show on a map all of the like foods that you've collected over all your time. And ideally,
cool.
We can just connect it with other. And I guess so I think EdgeDB has like support for geospatial data, from what I remember, like PostGIS or something. I think it's called.
Yeah, Postgres does have this. Do we expose it, Devon?
I
Do you
don't
know?
think we do yet. I think that is something we're planning soon, but I don't think we expose that yet.
Yeah, but I mean, you could store just plain GeoGIS data, which is JSON encoded blobs of data.
Oh,
If
okay.
you don't need to do some geospatial operations on that, if you just
Nice.
want to store them and retrieve them, that's easy.
Yeah.
And Postgres, what it does, it provides you capabilities of doing indexing on those and say, hey, I just want from this geographic region, I want all the points from here. And Postgres allows you to do this fast. Well, if you're allowed to, or if your constraints are okay that you could just iterate through all the points, you can do this client side. Yeah, so Postgres does has this extension, PostGIS, which allows you to store coordinates and polygons and whatnot. But you could also store them as plain JSON objects if you don't need to do some geospatial operations on them.
Yeah.
What PostGIS allows you to do then is index on those points and do some advanced operations on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I don't think we
indexing
expose
or-
that yet, but we
Yes.
plan to soon. So maybe in the interim, you could use the method that Aliash was proposing to store the data.
Oh wait, so I cannot actually directly access Postgres right now?
No.
No.
Okay. So does it do you make the thing is that I was thinking of using Supabase, not even because I already have essentially like Learn Anything runs on EdgeDB and I love that. I have my personal EdgeDB instance which I used like to tinker stuff, and it's like my just essentially like a dump of all the stuff that I want, like my personal bookmark manager and just like me exploring all the EdgeDB features. And Couscous, I was thinking of like actually using Supabase mostly just to test out the tech, like to see how actually Supabase compares to EdgeDB, because I think like Supabase has like has some like novel features, I believe, like live sync kind of data, or like they have like a sync engine offerings. There's a lot of cool things that I think are built on top of directly on top of Postgres that are just not available on HDB. So like for me, the high chance I'm going to be using like just raw Postgres. Just to understand, like also from my understanding, with HDB I can run like raw SQL, right? Or kind of like I can essentially run SQL on HDB, I think it's like read only or something.
Yes, exactly. We do have SQL adapter, and you can issue SQL statements, but it's only read-only.
All right. Okay. Fair.
This is
and then by the way,
useful for exporting data or connecting other data tools to HDB.
One thing that we're doing in Learn Anything is essentially we're building kind of like a Stack Overflow system where we have a question and an answer, and we actually store them. Basically, let's say I go to HDB topic on Learn Anything, and I can ask, hey, how do I create a database in HDB? So a person asks this question. We're going to search similar questions that people have asked. And the way that's going to work is I'm going to store all question answer, actually only questions we're going to store as a vector form in HDB, and we're going to do a similarity search, like an Euclidean similarity search, I believe it's called. And we're going to show, I guess, in the UI, all the similar people, all the similar questions that people have asked. So this is like my first time interacting with like, actually like vectors. So there's like 2 articles, and this is something I'm going to be looking in the next 2 weeks to build that system out. But so far it looks promising. So like basically I store the vectors, I do like the similarity search. I don't need any kind of external vector store. I can just do everything at HDB, which is like amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you haven't already, take a look at Deanna's ChatGPT guide in the under guides. You've seen it? Okay. Yeah, I think that would get you a long way toward what you're trying to do there.
Yeah, the guide is great. So I read through the guide. Like, I would love to have like an actual minimal viable GitHub repo that I can actually run. That would be amazing. But I guess I will have to do it myself. I really like this. Also running examples.
Yeah. There is a repo for that one, but it's the complete build of that. Am I telling you this right? Well, I mean, it's in our website. So if you look at our website repo, that the Ask AI feature is part of that. So you can see it
really?
there.
So basically,
Yeah.
the EdgeDB docs, the AI chat, this is fully open source?
Yes.
Oh, this is really cool. Yeah, I'll definitely
Yeah.
read that code then.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
yeah. Check
perfect.
that out. Definitely.
Yeah, so this is kind of like my kind of story. Like, I'm actually personally excited, and like anyone who's listening to this, I would really recommend to create like a personal EdgeDB instance for like all your personal data. So just like use it to collect, like even you can actually create your own kind of image storing thingy. Just store references to like Cloudflare R2s, and like basically you have your own essentially image search as well, which is like very trivial to do. And I believe like with EdgeDB you can even like do queries on the phone. I have never tried that, but it looks kind of promising as well. I don't know if I don't know at which point where I would need this, but maybe.
So
And
are
how
you
do
building a?
input data?
Yeah.
Would you just how do you input data? Just inserts
No.
into.
Yeah, you mean like I'm just thinking like at what point would I need to be like outside, let's say in like a coffee place or something, and I would oh shit, like I should run a query in EdgeDB to check something. Like I'm just thinking like well, unless it's like some like it's just hard to imagine like pulling up like a mobile client.
No, I'm asking about you're saying that you have a personal HTTP instance and you store all kinds of
Yes,
data
correct.
inside. But how are you
Yes.
storing stuff in HTTP? How do you input data into it?
Are you using the UI, or do you?
Oh
Have
yeah,
you built your own?
so the way it works, yeah. So the way it works right now is I actually have right now I'm keeping Twitter bookmarks there. Like so I have a table or like an object with Twitter bookmarks, and I have like a log of things I've done. So like I actually wait, let me share my quickly screen. Hopefully it does work.
Sure.
Okay, do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So so one thing I have like recently made, which is kind of cool, is so let's say I'm working on some task. I can let's say if I go like these are all the tasks that I have. Like for example, free trial person links. I have a binding that if I press it, I can start like I don't know. I can go to my code editor and I can do some stuff. Like and then if I press a key on the top right, oh, is it really not going to show now? Let's see. Oh my god. Okay, so I think this it broke for some reason. Right, show. So but like basically the way the system works is it takes in like I basically have a key binding, and if I'm inside an app like here, I press a key bind, and what it does is it runs this little script called new active to do, which is well looks like this. So it takes in what is in my clipboard. It parses it, and then like if my application is to do, it essentially then adds it to this location, scripts active to do JSON. So if I take a look at this, and if I go here, and if I do like cat of this, you'll see that it actually like do query and get all the link IDs. Oh, I think I know. Actually, I think I know why it doesn't work. I have like secure input on, and that's why it doesn't. I don't know why I have secure input on. But basically all my keyboard. So and then I have basically show active to do, which is like a keyboard maestro macro, which is like a kind of a visual automation tool. And what it does is it runs another script, and on the top right, if everything worked, it will show my current to do. So one of the things I'm doing is actually like storing a log of all the to dos I've worked on throughout the day. So I have, and it basically like it does it automatically. So instead of and then I have essentially like bunch scripts that I run to put data into it, into actual like production instance, and then in future I want to also log all my Spotify music I listen to, so I can show. So I don't have to like I don't have to. I can keep my own store of all the music I listen to, all kinds of stuff, and then I will show it on my personal website, which is like amazing actually, because it's like the EdgeDB editor like makes like working with the data like actually like enjoyable. Like if it was SQL, I would like drop the project because I would just not have a fun time. So and it also gives me like an opportunity to like actually break the system. So like I would like try and play around with like vector embeddings, stuff like this. So this is like the kind of logic behind it.
That's
this
super
is
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, so cool. I don't think any of us imagined this use case, like the specific interface you've created here, but it's super cool.
Yeah. So we would definitely recommend, like, because then you don't have any like there's no such thing as production is down, right? This is your personal EdgeDB thingy, and the only big thing is it's actually running in production as well. Like, so I can potentially like hook up my like phone and like maybe build like my own little like interface for it, like as part of my website. Like actually I can even do it behind an authentication, so I can have my own little like nice interface behind authentication that I can read data from, like my to-dos, and kind of similar like my own kind of Notion, let's say, but with like live data and stuff like this.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I will definitely do that. One second.
Yeah.
You said that you currently have this as a local instance, right?
Yes. So so my website is open source. I still need to push the code for all the HDB stuff, but that's going to be done like next week. Next week I'm going to like this conference called Effect. It's like a library where essentially, I don't know if anyone heard Effect, but basically it's like a library where instead of like doing try catch, we're going to meet Alexandra then. Where I'm going to meet Alexandra. But yeah, it's basically instead of like doing try catch in JavaScript, you just catch values, or like you work with them as values. It's like new to me, but it looks kind of cool.
Yes, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be a speaker there.
Oh shit, that's cool. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It's a really nice library. So exciting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what we're out to. I guess I'm gonna drop off, but like thanks for.
Yeah, thanks for coming up and sharing. That's so cool to see how you're using this.
Thank you.
EdgeDB as a personal database.
Yeah, exactly.
we meant it for app development and such, but I guess it's a personal database as well.
Yeah, and he's sort of, if I understand, he's sort of using it to drive his learning for his app development, for the Learn Anything app that he's building, and that's a really cool thing too, if you haven't checked that out. So yeah, very glad you got to come up and share that. If anyone else has any questions, or if you have something you want to share, we'd love to have you come up and talk about it or share it in the chat.
Or if you have any bugs that are particularly bugging you, we would like them to have it fixed in the upcoming release.
Yeah, tell us about your...
Also, the question for me would be if you have any requests for content or like something we should cover in the docs, then also please let us know.
There you go. Requests for content, requests for bug fixes, other questions. We can handle it all between the three of us. We at least as far as we know, until you come up with something we can't handle. But we'll probably be okay. Looks like we've got some people. I would love a good doc on how to build effective Elasticsearch-like experience with EdgeDB. There was some recent talk about a more general search guide that talks about both full-text search and PG trigram. So that is something under consideration. If you have any specific things, really, really granular things you want to see in that, please let us know. What were you going to say, Aleš?
Yeah, I wanted to say a few words about the FTS that we added in 5.0.
Yeah.
So the idea behind taking the time to build the FTS in EdgeDB was to make it general, so you would be able to develop with Postgres FTS, which is currently available in 5.0, but also that the interface would be general enough that you will be able to just plug in Elasticsearch, for example, or what's it called from Apache? I think it's Solar project that uses the Lucene tokenizer. To just swap out your backends for full text search. So you will be able to develop with Postgres FTS locally, but then in production run the full Elasticsearch instance behind it. And that the interface would be similar enough that you would be just able to swap backends out.
Yeah.
And I do have only locally built ZomboDB, which is basically interface to Elasticsearch in Postgres, and I have a working prototype of the FTS, EdgeDB FTS working with Elastic. But yes, this is not fully baked yet, and it won't be coming out in the 5.0.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Upcoming release is 5.0. The
Right.
current
Yeah. 4.0 is
FTS.
the one that shipped FTS.
Yes.
And Nick, just to be clear, we can't currently write you documentation on how to use Elasticsearch with EdgeDB because that is the part that hasn't shipped yet. But we can tell you about the options that we have available for search and the way that FTS was designed was to be pluggable so that eventually we can offer Elasticsearch as the backend for that search. And that is our intent. And that's what Alioj is working on locally, you said, right?
Yes. Also, you can use Elasticsearch with EdgeDB. It doesn't integrate with it.
Doesn't integrate with the FTS. Yeah.
Usually when you use full text Elasticsearch, you would have a server that is the API to the world, and it connects you to your database, and then also connects to Elasticsearch, and it pushes data into both instances, and then you only use Elasticsearch for searching, but you access it through your API, through your server. So that's the standard way of using Elasticsearch, I think. And you can, of course, use it this way with EdgeDB, but what we are building is that EdgeDB itself would connect to Elasticsearch or other backends.
Right. What was the library Nick just mentioned about a different way of using try-catch blocks? Is it effect? Or, yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe Nick knows what the other user is referring to here. Let's go on and we can circle back to that if we get that ironed out. Okay, it sounds like it is effect. All right, we've got a couple of questions.
Here's a question for me, I think.
Yeah, go for it.
Are there any planned improvements to the query compilation performance? This hits me especially bad during development. Yes, we are aware of a few cases where the compiler performance is not the best, but we have a cutoff that if a query compilation takes more than half a second, this is wrong. This is something that we will be fixing. So if you have some examples of schema that is not too large but is taking a long time to compile your query, please do send this to us because we need examples to see where's the performance bottleneck. And because in some cases it might be that some access policies are just calling one another, and it's creating a cascading effect of way too much code being compiled while it could be much faster. So if you have examples that are very slow, please do send us. And yes, you can send examples privately.
Okay, privately. Otherwise, if someone wants to share one that they don't need to be private, where's the best place to put those? Is there a GitHub issue, or is it best to just...
Yes.
Okay, all right.
GitHub issue, but if the file is too large, you can send this to probably Devon or on Discord or to me directly. Yeah,
feel free to share it with me, and I can forward it on to Alioj, or you can share it with Alioj directly. Okay, here's another one. We talked about chatting. Does EdgeDB have real-time features, or do I need to stream it directly from my backend? I'd like to have my backend submit messages to a conversation, and the client would get notified when that happens. I don't think we offer that yet. Is there anything to say beyond that, Alioj?
I think that I cannot say anything more.
Yeah.
We talked about this, but I cannot promise anything.
Yeah. It's on our radar.
It would be a great feature to have that I can agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is hard to make. It's easy to make in a very specific circumstances, but in a general environment such as EdgeDB, it would be hard. So we want to make it work in all the cases and not be flaky or whatnot. So this is not going to ship in 5.0, that I can say.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Here's another question from Bearded Engineer. Is there a way to get a single EdgeDB container to front multiple Postgres backends?
EdgeDB container. So what you would want to do here is have larger compiler pool, right? So you could compile queries in parallel and do it faster than just one by one. But you're not limited in the performance of the actual query execution. So you would want only one Postgres backend. We actually do run such a configuration in our cloud. So it is possible, but I'm not sure if there are any guides on how to do it. I can check and return back to this.
Is that what you're asking about here? Just post some clarification or follow up if you need to there. Another question from Bearded Engineer. Any plans? Oh, okay, here we go. Clarification on that question. Asking for scalability reasons, multi-tenant use cases.
Mm-hmm. So I know it's currently possible to have a compiler pool, so multiple compilers working with one Postgres backend instance. And we are currently also working to do the other way around, to have one compiler work with multiple Postgres backend instances. Because this is useful in our cloud. So yes, this is all possible, but I'm not sure on if we have any guides on how to do it published.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can follow up on that. I'm not 100% sure on that either.
But in any case, you would want your database and your compiler pool to be on the same machine because, well, it needs to do some round trips for compilation. It needs to load the schema when it's starting up. And sometimes when you change the schema, you also need to load it again. So it's very beneficial to have it on the same computer. Physical node, I mean.
What about on this same network? If it's a fast network, is that good enough?
Yeah, I mean, there is a reason that our cloud team has those two on the same machines. That every storage node, every Postgres node also has a compiler on that machine.
Yeah, so maybe not ideal.
Yeah.
Any plans for in-place upgrades between versions maintaining the storage?
Yes, there are plans for this, and it's going to be shipping in 6.0, that I can say, because we desperately need it in the cloud. It's going to be a feature that, as a compiler developer, I will very, very dislike, because it will mean that I really must be sure with every feature that I ship that it's not going to ruin your databases. But yes, we're shipping this in 6.0. So in 4 months, approximately.
There you go. I would love a database partitioning feature that splits data across multiple backends based on some key, a global variable.
Okay. So what you would want is something like timescale DB. I know that this is possible with Postgres, but not with vanilla Postgres. Timescale DB is a Postgres extension that allows you to do this. But I'm sure that this is not supported by EdgeDB.
Is this something we could conceivably expose in the future?
So I know timescale DB because I worked with it. And what they do is they have an access node that is a small Postgres instance that has the information about other data nodes. And timescale is specializing for time series databases or time series data. So what you usually do is you declare this partition by time and then maybe some other key. And access node has information how your tables are partitioned and then is able to forward your queries to your data nodes. So it is able to do this, but it will be very hard to implement, well, to put a EdgeDB compiler pool and all the abstraction that we have in front of timescale DB, because it's doing very different stuff. And we don't have a notion of partitioning keys in EdgeQL, so we would have to invent this in EdgeQL first and then also make it work with the timescale DB. But yeah, if you have this problem, you probably want to look into some other tool, or just have a very large Postgres instance on a performance server. It can handle a few terabytes of data with still reasonably high performance. I guess you're asking for problems with multi-tenant uses and
the problem is that for a complex app, you can either multi-tenant within a single database or across multiple databases. The first does not scale beyond a certain point. The second raises the issue of migrations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, so you would have to have different databases. Yes. You're basically hitting the scalability problem in general. And if your application has a reasonable cutoff between different, so you have some kind of scope in your application, like say a repo on GitHub. This is a good indication that this could be on a separate machine, and you would be able to migrate different machines at different times. You probably would want to do this as close to one another as possible. But yeah, if you want to scale this way, I suggest the second option across multiple databases.
All right. Looks like they've got more follow-up. Is this something cloud will eventually support? Is that,
Good
do you
question.
know about that?
I was just thinking if cloud already supports this, but I think this is not the case. But I don't know. This is actually a question for Elvis. Would you mind with questions about this multi-tenants and noisy neighbors and whatnot? Would you mind opening an issue on GitHub so you can get some proper answers? Because this will suit us documentation for all these questions. And we would want to have Elvis at least see these questions. Yep. He's working on the cloud team and has profound knowledge of the compiler as well. So he's the one to actually answer all of those questions.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for putting that issue together. If you have any other questions, feel free to share those in the chat or raise your hand. We will bring you up to the stage. We've had a good, productive session so far. Looks like we have some more questions possibly coming in. Can you talk about anything that you're starting work on after your current task?
Oh, I'm still on aliases, so there's more work to do.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. Is there an ETA for the language server extension? You're talking about the LSP, I think?
Probably that's it. So
yeah.
you would open up VS Code and have autocomplete for EdgeQL queries or
right.
in your schema. I don't think that we have an ETA for that. It's still in experimental stages, and we're prioritizing bug fixing and performance improvements over language server.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, won't ship alongside 5.0 in a few weeks when that comes, but definitely something that we are working on. Is there a public roadmap to know what is scheduled for 5.0, 6.0, etc.? There is not currently. We, at one point, started on an effort to sort of revamp the roadmap, and then that quickly got backburnered with feature and bug fix work. So we don't currently have a public roadmap. But if there's something in particular you're curious about, you're always welcome to ask about it on the Discord. There may already be an existing feature request that we can point you to and you can track on GitHub. And if there's not, we would love for you to file one so that we can track all those things, all the features that people are interested in. Looks like we have a few more questions coming. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us on your Friday. More observability on index performance could actually be very useful. Is that sort of is that a more general problem with Postgres? That there's not a lot of observability around indexes?
Yes. And also because we're compiling queries, actually it's a little bit harder to know when a query will hit an index and when it will not. And there are some use cases where when we do some weird compilation because how the types change or something in a query, and you just suddenly stop hitting the index and your performance of the query just rocks. And so this is a known issue, and the big thing that you have here is the explain command, or do we call it explain? Explain query.
I can't remember if it's explain or analyze. Let's see.
Yeah, it's one of those two.
Yeah, it is analyze.
Analyze. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great tool that you can have.
Yeah. Yeah. The few conversations I have followed about that sort of thing, it always seems like it's fairly arcane how Postgres decides whether or not to use an index. Sort of a bit of a black box.
It's very unfortunate that it doesn't expose any language construct that would say compare using an index.
Yeah.
And if it's not able, it would then return an error saying, hey, this is not able to be compared using an index. You can compare it as a regular expression, but we can't hit the index here for following reasons. That would be much better user experience.
Sounds like that would be super convenient. We'll go for a few more minutes here and then wrap up, let everybody get back to their day. Curious if there is any progress in the paper about EdgeQL. That was... I'm not sure what the status of that is.
Yeah, so Zibo is working on that, and I think it's going to be published on a separate website than our own. Is a formal definition of EdgeQL. We have a repo, and let me check. Maybe it's private, maybe it's public, but it's probably private. But I cannot say when it will be published, unfortunately, because these things take time. And he's constantly discovering new language features that exist deep it's private, in the belly of EdgeQL.
Yeah, so nothing to report just yet, but But your understanding is we do intend to make that repo public at some point.
Yes, that repo or just the paper itself.
Yeah. Anything notable we should look forward to in the future?
What do you mean, in terms of features or in terms
I think
of
that's what they're
breaking
asking
changes?
I think I would guess features. Yes, features, changes, etc. Yeah. What's on your radar?
I would love to make a few breaking changes to the language, because I have, as someone who likes languages and likes to develop languages, I have a few problems with how EdgeDB HQL works in some edge cases. But unfortunately, the team is not allowing me to make breaking changes to the HQL, because databases don't have breaking changes ever.
What breaking changes would you like to make?
Well, eliminating link properties, yes. This would help a lot, actually, with developing the compiler. But actually, I do think that link properties are very useful.
They are useful.
Yeah, so they don't fit into the language nicely, but they are too useful to remove. But there is some rules about path factoring, which I don't think it's actually a term that we use in documentation at all. But it has to do with how, say you have a tuple of two objects, and each of those objects is a set. This will produce a Cartesian product of each of the pairs in the tuple. But if those two objects are somehow correlated, say that this is user.firstname and the second object set is user.lastname, HQL is going to recognize that these two tuple fields are correlated with each other, and it's going to produce one tuple for each of the users, and not a Cartesian product of user first names and user last names. And this behavior is sometimes a bit unpredictable, and it's useful. The general mechanism is useful in most cases, but it's sometimes unpredictable when you have long paths and you have to somehow find the least common denominator from each of the paths. Yeah. But we are not making breaking changes, or at least if you're going to make breaking changes, they're going to be hidden behind the flag. So you opt into the new language semantics. Regarding the features, I actually don't know what I'll be working on in 6.0. I know that I won't be the release manager anymore, which is going to free up my time. Yeah, we didn't have a meeting for 6.0 yet, so yeah. Sorry.
So some things I could call out: the LSP that's already been mentioned, and we don't know exactly when that's coming, but that is a future feature that people are looking forward to. There's some stuff coming with EdgeDB Auth in 5.0. Some new providers are coming with that. That one's going to be pretty soon. We just dropped some new important UI and features on the cloud, a scaling UI, and one other that is escaping me right now. But there is also a backup UI coming for cloud soon. We already run backups, automated backups, but we don't have a UI to expose them. So you'll be getting that in the next few weeks, I think. So that's pretty big. Those are the things that are kind of top of mind for me right now.
Oh yeah, I remembered the in-place upgrades is going to be the big topic of 6.0 for me. Also, I'll probably be helping on the language server in terms of making more of the compiler written in Rust. So migrating HQL AST probably to Rust This will be the first stone to turn.
Nice. Sergio's following up on the roadmap question. They're wanting it to track more generic features and use cases rather than granular changes and bug fixes. We did have a roadmap, and that was kind of the focus of it. And once we bring the roadmap back, I think that will be the focus of it. Right now, it's just taking a small team and deciding whether to focus on building the roadmap or working on the things that would be on the roadmap. And that's always a difficult trade-off to make. But I think it is something that we want to get back to at some point. I just don't know when at this point. A question on the product side. We can take this one and then jump off. Question on the product side. Why focus on auth? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's probably a question for Yuri, but my guess would be that it allows EdgeDB to be run without an API in front.
Yeah.
Because up until now, you wouldn't be running Postgres just exposed to the internet, but you can run EdgeDB exposed to the internet. And you can have just your static front end as a progressive web application that makes HTTP calls to the HTTP server directly. And you need some kind of authentication for that. And so this is a use case that was not covered before. And just adding some kind of auth to HTTP server was enough to do that. And this is even more convenient with the cloud because you just click a button, here is your server, and now you just deploy a static application and you have an application on the internet.
Yes. Yeah, I guess like all dev tools, we want to give developers superpowers. We want to make them look good. And that's one way we can do that is by not forcing you to build auth and ultimately not forcing you to even build a backend in some cases. So I think that's the reason for the focus.
My career as a software developer is not all that long, like it's under 10 years, but I've built auth 4 times, I think.
Yeah.
4 times. And like it's always the same. You always send emails, you always validate passwords, you hash them, you store salt in the database and whatnot. But it's always the same. Why would you build it every time? Just have the auth module in HTTP and that's it.
I thought you were going to say you loved every minute of it.
Of course, yes. It's very demanding work.
Yeah.
Fulfilling work, of course.
There we go. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for Office Hours. We will see you in a future session soon. And thanks for joining me, Alyos and Alexandra, for everybody that asked questions and came on stage. Hope you all have an excellent weekend.
Cheers. Thank you, Devon.
Thank you.